Hi, welcome back to Season 1, Episode 4 of Wiregrass Revolutionary Veterans. I'm Philip Kitchens. I'm with the Wiregrass chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. And today, we're going to be talking about John Merrick Sr. After the Revolutionary War, he became one of the first documented settlers in the city that we know as Ozark, Alabama. John Merrick Sr. was born in Fredericktown, Frederick County, Maryland, which is now part of Montgomery County, Maryland, since 1776. According to John Merrick's pension affidavit, he volunteered for the Virginia militia in August of 1774 at the age of 16 years old, to serve under the command of Captain Joseph Gregory and Colonel Andrew Lewis. He served for 7 years on the frontiers in the state of Virginia to carry expresses and as a scout at Nutter's Fort and Coons Fort on the West Fork of the Monongahela River. Although he was not in any particular battles that he could recall, he recalled that his company was called on with others to go against the Indians to avenge the death of Colonel William Crawford, who was defeated by the Indians and executed. They were called off the pursuit by the command of General Washington. In 1782, General William Irvine persuaded Crawford to lead an expedition against enemy Native American villages along the Sandusky River. Before leaving on May 16th, he made out his last will and testament. His son John Crawford and his son-in-law William Harrison, along with his nephew and namesake William Crawford, also joined the expedition. Crawford led about 500 volunteers deep into the American Indian Territory with the hope of surprising them. However, the Indians and their British allies at Detroit had learned about the expedition in advance and brought about 440 men to the Sandusky to oppose the Americans. After a day of indecisive fighting, the Americans found themselves surrounded. During a confused retreat, Crawford and dozens of his men were captured. The Delaware Nation tribes tortured and executed many of the men in retaliation for the Manhattan Massacre earlier in the year. Crawford's execution was brutal and was overseen by Simon Girty, a former soldier under Crawford's command, who deserted his post after being wanted for high treason in 1778 for acting as an enemy of the state while serving in the militia. The order was signed by Timothy Matlack and George Bryan. Crawford was tortured for at least 2 hours before he was burned at the stake. His nephew and son-in-law were also captured and executed. The war ended shortly after that, but Crawford's horrific execution was widely publicized in the United States, worsening the already strained relationship between Native Americans and European Americans. After the war, John Merrick said he lived in Mecklenburg County, Virginia, Georgia, then eventually settled down and married Elizabeth Callender. Together they had one son, John Merrick Jr., born on September the 8th of 1806 in South Carolina. Around 1822, John Merrick Sr., at the age of 64, and his wife, Elizabeth Callender, the age of 35, and his son, John Merrick Jr., at the age of 16, established a homestead in Dale County, Alabama, where the current Ozark Town Square is today. As the settlement grew, it became known as Merrick's. Here on Dale County Courthouse Square, there is a historical marker placed by the Historical Chattahoochee Commission and the Dale County Historical Society in 1979. It states that present-day Ozark, being first called Merrick's, in 1843, Merrick's became known as Wood Shop in honor of the important local woodworking business. And finally, in 1855, the town received its final name of Ozark, which stories say that Ozark received its name from a traveler who saw the resemblance to the hilly area of the foothill mountains of Arkansas. Postmaster Elijah Matthews petitioned the name Ozark to be named after the Indians who inhabited the mountains of Arkansas and Missouri. Now, in November of 1832, John Merrick Sr. had applied for his pension, and by January 1839, he had not been granted this pension. So his son, Colonel John Merrick Jr., wrote a letter in January 1839 to the Alabama U.S. Senator, the Honorable C.C. Clay, on behalf of his father, John Merrick Sr., and a fellow Revolutionary War veteran, Bartholomew Fields, asking for his assistance in getting their pensions approved. Senator Clay asked they resubmit their applications, and this was done on 21 January 1839 at the Dale County Courthouse. Senator Clay was successful in getting the pensions approved, and John Merrick began receiving his $20 per annum for the remainder of his life. Now, there's a street on the west side of the courthouse, and it is known as Merrick Avenue, which runs north of downtown Ozark, and then south it dead ends 2 blocks from the courthouse at the Morning View Cemetery, which is now called Union Cemetery, where John Merrick Sr., his wife Elizabeth, and his son, Colonel John Merrick Jr., are buried along with other family members. John Merrick Sr. died on March 28, 1845, at the age of 96 years old. And he was buried here at Morning View Cemetery beside his wife and son. There are still descendants of John Merrick living in the Wiregrass, not only with the surname of Merrick, but Matthews, Bennett, Harrison, Dishman, Pelham, and Ketchum, just to name a few. As always, we should be thankful for the sacrifice and determination of our Revolutionary veterans and their families in setting a pathway for our nation, the nation that we love, the United States of America. I hope you enjoyed this episode and will like, subscribe, and maybe even leave a comment. Until next time, huzzah.